One of these is using gelatin. The other one is using agar. Can you guess which one's which? Despite being half Japanese, black sesame desserts did not feature strongly in my childhood. Mochi, anko, even shoyu were all flavors that we had, but I had never really had a black sesame dessert until I was in my 20s. Way back in 2012, I started a podcast called Me So Hungry with my friend Rachel, aka La Fuji Mama. She had spent a bunch of time living in Japan, and she could not stop raving about black sesame desserts. With that black sesame seed planted in my mind, it was no surprise that a kurogoma pudding sitting in the refrigerator case next to the bakery in Marukai happened to catch my eye one day when we were on our way to Rachel's house. So I bought enough for all of us. Wonderful friend that she is, she saw how much I loved that black sesame pudding, and she decided that she was going to develop a kurogoma pudding recipe for me, and that's how this recipe came to be. A few weeks ago, when we were filming that furikake nori video, the scent of black sesame when we were blending everything together made me really crave black sesame desserts. And whenever I'm craving black sesame desserts, this is the one I turn to. But I'm doing something a little bit different this time. Did you know that gelatin is not vegetarian? It's actually derived from collagen from animal parts, which means that our vegan and vegetarian friends can't eat it. Since I have a vegetarian friend in my life that I like to cook for, I wanted to see if I could make this pudding recipe using agar instead of gelatin. Agar is very similar to gelatin, but it's derived from seaweed, which means that it's vegan, so vegans and vegetarians can eat it. And obviously, for a true comparison, I had to make a batch of both for science. This isn't just an excuse to make more pudding. I don't know what you're talking about. Step 1. If you are using gelatin, then you need to hydrate it before you use it. This will make sure that it will gel properly and not clump when you mix it into your pudding. So take a packet of gelatin and sprinkle it over cold water. Now, I made the mistake of using a very small container for this. What you should be doing is use a bigger, flatter container so that all of the powdered gelatin will come into contact with the water. I had to add a little bit more water to make sure that it was all hydrated. If you are using agar, skip this step. We will come back and use the agar later. Next, prepare your kurogoma, which are your black sesame seeds. You could use a coffee grinder or a spice grinder or even a mortar and pestle for this, but we are using a food processor. Grind your sesame seeds with a little bit of sugar. The sugar helps them grind evenly, much like adding salt when you're grinding something in a mortar and pestle. Once that is all ground, it's time to make our pudding. Transfer the black sesame seeds to a pot and then add some milk and more sugar. Bring that all to a boil, stirring constantly to make sure that nothing burns. Once it comes to a boil, it's time to add your gelling agent. If you are using gelatin, add that softened gelatin from earlier and make sure you stir it completely until it's all combined. On the other hand, if you're using agar, this is when you will add that powder into your pudding and mix it all together. Usually, you'll use about the same amount of agar as you do of gelatin. So 1 packet of gelatin is about 2¼ teaspoons. Remove the saucepan from the heat and stir in your heavy cream. At this point, you want your pudding to cool to room temperature. We are using an ice bath for this, so fill a bowl with ice and cold water, and then put another bowl on top of it. Make sure none of that water gets in the second bowl, and pour your pudding into the smaller bowl. Being very careful to keep all the water out of that bowl, whisk your pudding a bit so that it evenly cools, and then you can let it sit for like 5 minutes or so until it's nice and chilled. Once the pudding has cooled, you can optionally whip it a bit to have a lighter pudding. If you're using agar, it may have started gelling by now because agar has a higher gelling temperature than gelatin does. So whipping it, or at least stirring it a bit, will loosen it up a little so it's easier to transfer to the final containers. Once your pudding is cooled and whipped, ladle it into whatever containers you want to use to serve your pudding, and then put it all in the fridge for at least 4 hours. You want it nice and cool, and you need to give the gelatin time to cool down so it will actually gel. If you'd like, you can serve it with a little bit of whipped cream and enjoy. Our pudding has set, and he'll love it, I bet.
I bet. I don't know how to follow up to that one.
It's tasting time!
Oh, it's tasting time.
It's one line.
It's tasting time. It's tasting time. I want a ram.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo. It's time. I know. I should just stick to just being behind the camera, huh?
Just be a mime.
Just be a mom.
Where's my mime?
All right, it's tasting time. Let's eat this.
So,
let's do this.
Do you know which one's which?
I don't know. I would say that the right one is probably agar. No, this one. This one is probably
That one's the agar.
agar. And this one is probably the jello, right? Oh, look,
You can tell because it's wiggly.
It's
jiggly,
wigglier.
like the gelatin.
Yeah.
Like Jello.
The gelatin is so smooth. Let's try the. Oh, so this is much harder for the agar or agar.
I don't know.
What language is this, Asa?
That's a good question. I don't know.
They're both really good.
You were mentioning that
Yeah.
the agar one,
Yeah.
it's more solid. And you were saying that this might be a good thing to have as like a boba mix-in, as one of the toppings for some sort of boba drink. Because a lot of the times you'll have like puddings or jellies or boba. And so this actually would be really good.
That
and
would be.
I kind of want to try it now.
Yeah, because the sesame part of it is earthy and it's not very sweet.
It's not super sweet, but it's also a prominent enough flavor.
Yeah.
And it's solid enough that'll hold its shape. Whereas if you tried to put the pudding in there,
Yeah,
it would just like slurp.
It will turn into smoothie.
Yeah, it won't
Yeah,
really do anything.
yeah.
The gelatin pudding is lighter.
Yeah, you're right.
It's much lighter.
It is lighter.
And I'm trying to decide which one I like better.
That is so light. You're right. That is so light. I don't know. Like I said before we started recording this, the agar version reminds me of the Asian Jello. You know, Asian people, we make Jello like this. This is our Jello.
Because Asian Jello is made with agar.
Yeah, and we tend to make these with a fruity flavor. You know
We've
what?
done it with
I've
fruit
yet tasted a durian. No, we need to make that for science. For science. So, but I was thinking. I saw that, Alfred, okay? I saw that in the corner of my eyes. This version it reminds me a lot of my childhood. And growing up, this is the only Jello that we know. We don't know the other type of Jello. Maybe that's, I'm just speaking for myself. But it's just in my family. This is all we make. And this is what we call Jello. There's memory attached.
There's positive association with it.
There's memory attached to it. But you're right, this is a little heavier.
It's much firmer. So this is like,
almost like a smoothie.
I mean, it's pudding.
It's pudding, yeah.
It's pudding.
Yeah.
Whereas that is much more like a gelatin, almost as firm as like gummies. It's somewhere between Jello and gummies.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
In terms of firmness. So expect something a lot denser, but both are really tasty.
So do you think it's because, I know when we were filming this, you said that at the end, we whip it up with the whipper. The whipper snipper at the end. And you said that was to introduce air to it, to make it airier, to make it more lighter.
I don't think that actually did.
You don't think it
much.
did anything?
It might be a little bit lighter because of it, but I don't think it did much. It definitely didn't do anything for the agar. Although
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It did,
because you did it for both.
Right, mixing it did mix in the parts that had started to gel. So it made it a little smoother for the transfer into the containers. But I don't think it lightened up the agar.
Yeah.
For the gelatin, it may have lightened it up a little bit, but not a ton, because it's still, even just directly from, like if you skip the whipping portion, it'll still be very light because it's pudding.
Yes.
It tends to be a bit of a lighter texture.
Is that something that is
it is not
common
common
in this country?
US,
no, it's not common, right? Okay.
Except in like the vegan vegetarian communities, maybe, but even that is
do I have something in my nose? So let us know in the comments which one, if you have tried agar, and if you prefer one versus the other. Stop looking at my nose, Alison. Okay? No, I'll censor it out. Don't worry about it. Oh, give me it. Give me it. Why is it every time, every video ends with me harassing you for more food?
Because this is our life.
No, it's not our life, okay? I'm not like this in real life. I'm a very petite human being that do not require a lot of food. Forget this, Alison. I'm gonna go drink some fish sauce right now. I'm done.
Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. And if you would like to help support this channel, you can become a patron as well. Just go to patreon.com/sushiday and you can choose a tier to support us at. If you have not yet subscribed, hit that sub button and come back and see more food videos and like this video because it does help our little channel grow. And if you would like to see the rest of the food videos that we've made, you can check out the playlist right over here.
Alison, look. Oh, look, I'm back with fish sauce. You want to take a shot of this? Let's do it.
Done.